Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo faced intense questioning today on Capitol Hill over his handling of the coronavirus pandemic. Cuomo, who resigned in 2021 over sexual harassment allegations, became a trusted voice during the pandemic with his daily briefings. He has since been heavily scrutinized for his COVID-era policy that put sick patients in nursing homes, which health experts say led to more deaths. To recap, in 2022, a New York State audit found about 14,000 nursing home residents died from COVID between March of 2020 and May of 2021. The audit says the former governor failed to disclose more than 4,000 of those deaths. Cuomo has been accused of cover-up in order to boost New York's reputation for its rapid response to the virus. However, he claims these allegations actually distract from the federal government's mishandling of the pandemic.
These are all diversions to blame New York and other states for the culpability of the federal response, which was malpractice. There was no preparation, no PPE, no testing, no masks, no science, no leadership. As one Republican governor said about Trump, the general was missing in action, leaving 50 states bidding against each other for scarce medical supplies. It was the COVID Hunger Games.
So Cuomo was also accused of giving his family preferential access to limited COVID tests. For more on this and what all of this means, let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane, who's on Capitol Hill. Scott, thanks for joining us. Andrew Cuomo is not in office. He resigned a little more than 3 years ago. He's also been investigated by the Justice Department, Manhattan District Attorney, New York Attorney General, and the New York State Assembly, none of which brought charges against him. So what is the point of this hearing? What kind of answers do lawmakers want?
Yeah, Jerika, this Republican-led U.S. House subcommittee has been working for 2 years on what they say is an investigation to prevent failures from happening during the next public health emergency. And they've been focused on this New York nursing home series of deaths from 2020 from the start of their work last year. And this hearing with Andrew Cuomo beneath the bright lights before TV cameras and before this panel is a bit of a valedictory for them. This is something they wanted to get done before they wrap up their work in December. Some of this echoes what you mentioned earlier. The investigations found that there was this series of deaths in New York nursing homes that the Republicans here emphasized was preventable if Governor Cuomo and New York state regulators didn't allow so many COVID patients to go into the hospital system, then into the nursing home system in the first place. They also accused him of moving the numbers around to minimize to the public how many deaths were occurring in nursing homes. This parallels what previous investigations showed. What Republicans tried to argue here is that Andrew Cuomo was doing so out of a political motive to try to further himself, try to further his career, his prospects, with the public information being minimized in the meantime. Democrats counterpunched as we expected, saying that this COVID crisis was exacerbated by Donald Trump and his stewardship in the White House. This subcommittee, Jerika, has a history of apolitical work at times, not being flamethrowers, but to put this hearing between Labor Day and Election Day just marinates it in the campaign election cycle and the political news of the moment. And it was as heated as people thought it was going to be.
You know, again, though, he's not running for office. He's sort of laid low, if you will, since resigning. What did we learn from the former governor based on his testimony today?
He was emphatic. He was at times visceral with his criticisms of former President Trump, saying it was a federal government failure of epic proportions in 2020 that left the states vulnerable to just the type of thing you saw in New York, where he argues there was more deaths than there needed to be, not just in New York, across the country, and emphasizing at times that former President Trump could have done better and should have done better. But there were New York Republicans on this panel as well, and they countered, saying it was Governor Cuomo, then Governor Cuomo, who failed on the job and then tried to minimize, if not erase, some of those mistakes from the public record. This is the type of thing that has been years in the making, but Jerika, it will continue from here. The subcommittee has now subpoenaed records from now Governor Kathy Hochul to get more records on what happened during those impactful moments between March 2020 and May 2020 when deaths were so widespread. But fundamentally, Jerika, What this committee has said it's going to do is investigate the failures of the COVID response, and it's hard to get past the nursing home deaths during those initial months as being anything but a massive failure worthy of investigation. But Democrats will question why they had to do it today of all days when the world is consumed with politics.
Yeah, and the former governor expressing sympathy for those who lost their lives during that pandemic. Scott MacFarlane on Capitol Hill, thank you.
Thank you.